can, it's known, you can hook up your surveillance camera to an AI model and then, extract information. So this is called video analytics. And this is something that I'm personally working in as well. So we build a lot of models, not facial recognition models, but a lot of models to extract information from videos, from CCTV cameras. So for example, let's say you have a store and you'd like to find out how many people are going into your store every day. And what are their genders? Now with the COVID, you'd like to find out if they're wearing a face mask or not. So all of these things, you can build models for them, and then you can hook up your surveillance cameras to the system.
Wow, amazing. 123 episodes of A to the show. Yes, there we go. Amazing. Traveling around the world, so many different people. And today we're joined by Christoph from Beirut AI. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
All right, thank you for having me, guys. Hi, I'm Christoph, or Chris for short. I'm a software engineer from Beirut, Lebanon. I founded the Beirut AI community around 3 years ago. So Beirut AI is the applied AI community in Lebanon. And the reason that I found this community is that when I first started working in AI or artificial intelligence, that was 5 years ago, it was a bit of a new topic, especially in Lebanon as well. And I kind of wanted to see who else was around working in the same field. And I realized that very few people were actually working in this field. And so I wanted to kind of push this field further. So I thought, let's have a community where people can share knowledge, can get to meet, engage, connect, and hopefully we can push this field further. And so that's what we've been doing in the last 3 years.
I mean, how long has AI even been around? Like 5 years, you said, was when you found out about it?
Yeah, but it's actually older than that. I mean, AI is kind of a big field, right? So if you go into the details, like machine learning algorithms and all of that, they date back to the 1950s. But in the recent, 8 years, starting from 2012, the deep learning wave kind of kicked in because, so basically AI is just like a substitute for machine learning or deep learning, which are smart algorithms that can take data, process these huge amounts of data, and extract insights. So in the recent few years, by the way, stop me if I go.
No, keep going. I'm listening. I'm curious about this.
No, we don't want to stop you. We don't want to stop you.
Yeah,
keep going.
Okay, so in the last few years, you've seen a lot of companies collect data. So you have this big data, ideas. So big companies are collecting a lot of data about users. At the same time, you have a lot of advancement on the hardware side. So we have the capabilities to load huge data sets and compute over them. So it's this combination of big data with advancement in hardware that enabled the deep learning phase or the deep learning, evolution.
Okay, and that's a new phase. So that's different. That's what makes it different than all other AI. You said it's been around since 1950s. But this deep learning is what makes it different. How long has deep learning been around for? I
mean, theoretically, it's like 1992 maybe, but like practically, it's 2012 officially. Like the first model was. There's this competition that researchers compete at every year, and then the first model that won the competition was AlexNet in 2012, and this kind of brought the idea that hey, we can use deep learning models to solve computer vision problems, and so deep learning kind of kicked in.
Okay,
and you can see this hype in AI in the last years.
And where's Lebanon in this field? Like, what's their position on this field? So you're apparently the pioneer since the way you were saying it, that you founded the community. So maybe you can tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not where we would like it to be. So we have a huge problem in Lebanon is that people are leaving, right? Like bright, smart, educated people. And it's kind of, it's understandable because the situation only keeps getting worse in Lebanon. And so back then it was, if you wanted to work in this field, you have to leave the country. This is what we tried to change, and we did change that. So like there are some opportunities here, but now like the question is, do you want to survive or do you want to live in a dangerous country? So like the reason, the economic situation, the physical threat, the explosions, everything that happened, it's kind of pushing people away. So it's really affecting startups and all of that.
Reality of it, I see. But I mean, the cool thing about work like this is that you can do it from anywhere, right? You could do it on your computer from Beirut or Uganda or China, whatever. How is
Exactly.
it? So what is the research you're doing right now, and how are you like trying to push AI forward?
So I totally agree with what you said, and this is what we're trying to do. So even if there aren't a lot of companies in Lebanon that are working in AI, you can still work in the field by working remotely with a company in the US or in Europe or elsewhere in the UAE, for example. So we're working on outsourcing jobs to Lebanese talent. So basically, it serves two things. First of all, you don't have to leave your country, your family to work in an interesting field. And second, which is also important nowadays in Lebanon, is that you bring in what we call fresh money or fresh dollars, which is
Fresh
huge.
dollars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So currently, like at Beirut AI, we offer a boot camp. So one of the activities we do is a 1 week boot camp, which is happening in 10 days. So it's a 1 week intensive course that introduces anyone who just knows programming can get out of the boot camp knowing the basics in every field in AI. And so it's the first, you kick off your career in AI through this boot camp. So it accelerates the learning curve. And hopefully we're also working on building something bigger that connects these graduates with jobs and
Right.
upskilling the talent.
That's really cool. So we have an AI expert. Tell us what is deep learning. You talked a bunch about deep learning. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just briefly, let me explain what AI is, and then machine learning, and then deep learning, because they are linked, right?
Yes.
So everyone says AI because it's easy to say.
Yeah, we could start with the basics. I think that would help.
Yeah. So AI is actually a big field. It's a branch of science that includes different techniques that allows us to add smart capabilities to our systems. So whenever you are trying to implement something that makes your hardware or software a bit smarter, you are doing AI. So for example, robotics is a form of artificial intelligence. Machine learning is also a form of AI, right? So you have a big circle called AI. Instead of this circle, you have a smaller circle called machine learning. Machine learning is a group of algorithms, but if you know programming, usually in algorithms, we program like a step-by-step instructions. So you tell the program to do this and then do that. And if this condition is met, apply these things, otherwise do these things. So you have to manually specify the instruction step by step. The difference is that the machine learning algorithms, we call them smart algorithms because they take data as input. So instead of instead of telling the algorithm what to do, you show it examples and you tell it, okay, learn from these examples. So quickly speaking, I can learn to detect a cat in an image by looking at a million images of a cat.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yes.
So instead of programming it, because it's a bit difficult to program what a cat looks like, there are millions of combinations, and you can hard code it, but it doesn't really work on all scenarios. So what you do is you gather a bunch of images of cats, and then you show these images to the model, and then you tell the model, learn the pattern that you need to learn so that you can recognize a cat, for example, in the image.
All right.
So
what you're saying is AI becomes smarter by teaching itself? Is that
by
the
looking,
process?
by experience, by looking at examples.
Okay. Self-taught,
so all of these,
all right.
Yep, not actually self-taught. I mean, it's a bit of people say it's self-taught, but it's human taught. We teach the model, we collect the data, we clean the data, we prepare the data, and then we show the model the data, and then the model learns from the data. And so these are machine learning algorithms, and one of them is deep learning. The difference is that deep learning mimics the human brain, right? So our brain has a lot of neurons.
Yeah.
No, just in the structure, nothing scary about it. It sounds too scary, but it's not. So I hate how AI is visualized in movies where you see robots and you see taking over. This is not AI. AI is
like a human brain, dude.
Yeah, but hear me out. So it's
is it possible though? Is it possible? Like they self-teach themselves that maybe we should get rid of all humans, and stuff like
maybe
that?
In the future, yes, but in the foreseeable future, I don't know. Currently, there are different. Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
That's a great answer.
I think this is why people have this fear of AI. I guess.
Yeah,
because there's a possibility that this could happen. So it's like they don't want to be on that side. It's like.
Yeah, I mean, also for the fear, there's another reason is that it's automation, right? So there are currently people who are losing part of their jobs, if not the whole task, due to automation. And this is something that we can also talk about. I mean, I've spoken about this a lot, but yeah. So just to quickly go back to the idea that so deep learning mimics the brain. What we mean by that is our brains have neurons, billions of neurons, and these neurons are connected together, right? So they form these connections. So we tried to replicate these in our software. So we created artificial neurons, like nodes, that take in input from multiple other nodes, right? And then they learn to change the weights of these connections to hold the information.
Damn,
yeah,
that's,
I mean,
honestly,
What?
it's basically its own brain. You're creating a brain from
Right.
from scratch.
yes, exactly. Although like our brains have trillions of connections, and so far in the neural networks, we've managed 170 billion, and that's like a huge model, right? That's the biggest model.
Okay.
So we're still far away from reaching the human capacity of actual
Right.
brain, right?
Right.
So
So, but it's, a lot has changed. I mean, you said you've been working this for 5 years. It's only been out for 8 years, right? How much in the beginning it was just, I mean, we looked at deepfakes in the beginning. Like deepfakes in the beginning were very like ugly and they're put together weird, but now they look really real. You can convince them. Yeah.
And this is just a couple of years, right?
Right.
So deepfakes didn't exist in 2015 or 16. I think they started in 17.
Oh wow.
And so
yeah.
So the idea is that this field is kind of trendy because now every researcher, every computer scientist, every engineer, everyone is just fully focused on AI. So you can see like, the amount of papers that go out. Like every day you have maybe 10 or 20 paper in the field. So it's exploded. And yeah, that has led to the fast development of the field and a lot of techniques.
Do you think a lot's going to change in the next couple of years if we like continue with
I think
AI?
I think what's going to change is that the hype will go away and the actual there's the actual value that AI brings, and then there's the hype around AI. So this fast development of AI introduced this hype where people think that, hey, I have a problem, I'm going to throw AI and let AI fix it. And that's not how AI works. But I get this all the time because we consult companies, we work with different people, and I have a lot of people come over and just ask me, okay, I have this problem, or I do these things at work and I want to do it with AI. And it's not always the case. So AI is not this magic, tool that you throw and it's going to fix your problem or it's going to solve it by itself. So this overhyped part of AI.
So what is AI then?
Yes.
If it's not to solve our problems, what is AI for?
No, it's a tool that if you know how to use it, you can solve a problem. So if you have what is this? If you have a hammer, right, and you have a nail, you can hammer the nail, right? But if you have a hammer, you cannot use it to screw a screwdriver or something, right? Like you need the right tool to solve the right problem. AI is not a generic tool. AI can automate some tasks, right? So AI can look at images and classify them, for example. AI can detect objects and images if you're talking about computer vision. AI can understand basic text for now, and it's learning. It's increasing.
But I talk to AI on the phone every time I call my bank. I hear like an AI bot. Hello, how's it going on? And they sound so convincing and real. And I feel like doesn't it also automate every single process that's repeatable? Like anything you can do every single day, repeatedly, from like I don't know, anything, right? From like a construction worker building something to like a pizza guy making a pizza to like I don't know, a lawyer scanning through documents, right? It's everyone gets affected by AI.
Yeah, but to be specific, some of these things can be automated by programming. Like you don't need AI to do these things.
I see.
Right? If they're simple enough to be written in step-by-step instructions, you can just write a program. However, AI comes in when you need a human to do it, but it's still a bit repetitive. So this is where AI can help in.
All right.
And do you think AI in the future is capable of like solving complex issues that maybe humans cannot solve at all?
For sure. I mean, have you guys heard of AlphaFold?
No.
Okay, so there's this company called DeepMind.
AlphaFold.
It's
DeepMind, the first AI company. Yeah.
Have you heard of AlphaGo, AlphaZero,
No.
AlphaFold, AlphaStar? None of these. Okay.
Alpha. Let's go.
You're
So-
gonna tell us all about it.
Yes, exactly.
Sure, with pleasure. Okay, so there's this company called DeepMind in the UK. It's actually owned by Google, and they've been working on different AI models to solve different problems. So the first model that really like broke the news and was popular is called AlphaGo. It plays the game of Go. I don't know if you know the game. It's a like Chinese
Card
version
game?
of chess, kind of.
I don't know.
It's a board
Okay.
game where you
Mhm.
have these white and black pebbles or like dots, and you have to I don't know, like I don't know how to explain it actually, but
Okay.
it's kind of a complicated
It's a board game.
It's much
Yeah.
more complicated than chess, right?
Yes. Okay.
People can look it up. It's all right.
Yeah, it's called Go. So easy. So anyway, so they built this system, right, that can play the game of Go, and it was able to beat the top Go player in the world. It's now the #1 player in the whole universe, right? Like it beat every player everywhere. So and then they solved they built a model called AlphaStar that played the StarCraft game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a gamer myself,
Yeah.
but I mean I've heard of names of games. So StarCraft was one of the games that this system was capable of winning, and it was not just like one AI system. It was 5 AI systems working together because it apparently multi-game. So they have to play
Yeah.
with a team of 5. So that's another system. And the AlphaFold, which is recently, they announced recently. So there's a big problem in science and in biology. It's called protein folding. So basically we have protein are made up of a lot of amino acids, and somehow the way they fold make a specific structure for a protein. And so it's been like a 50-year problem where we try to predict how would these amino acids fold to form a certain protein. How can we predict the shape of this protein? And then the system recently was able to solve this problem.
Oh wow.
So this is like to answer your question.
How long did it take to solve that problem by the AI?
I mean, they were working on it for the past 2 years, training it and fine-tuning it. But I mean, to actually make a decision, it's super fast. Once it's learned the system, it can predict. It doesn't take it time to predict. Like it takes it maybe a day, versus it used to take years for a human scientist to reach the same answer.
So something that took us 50 years to not even solve yet took AI a day to finish.
Mhm.
I mean,
yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And that's a lot to take in, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
One day they're probably going to find a way to rule this world in a peaceful way.
In the peaceful way. Why do you think that, Said? Yeah. Said, why do you think that?
I mean, I don't know.
You bring very conspiratorial.
They seem very good at problem solving. It takes them a day to find and discover things. So something that we're not very good at. I mean, it takes us years to solve our issues. AI can solve our issues in the future.
But to put things into perspective, I have to mention one thing. So I'm going to take the example of the Go game, just to give you an example of how it learned to be this efficient. So there's an algorithm called reinforcement learning, which means it's like you have an agent placed in an environment, and then this agent can take action in the environment. And each time an action is taken, the environment returns a certain reward. And then the agent will learn to maximize the reward, right? So it takes the actions that will maximize its reward. Just like if you're training your dog, every time you say sit and the dog sits, you give the dog a treat. So you're reinforcing that, okay, when I say sit and you sit, you take it, you give it a reward. And so this model was able to learn the game of Go from zero, from scratch, into fully like the best model in the world in 4 hours. And you think, okay, wow, that's super fast. But during those 4 hours, it was able to play billions of games of Go. So which would take a normal human maybe like 500 years to play them, right? So it's not like they're smarter than us. It's just that they can compute things much faster than us. And that's why they can reach things faster, right? So because you eliminate the human part of it, but the computation is kind of the same.
That's a great. I didn't think about it. They're not like really smarter than us. They can just do things so fast that way faster than we can. And thinking about these
So it's like they're more experienced, is in a way.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just they have more experience.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you ever think they could outsmart us though? Yeah, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, smart. Like, what is intelligent, right? Like, can you define intelligence? It doesn't really have like a straight definition. Something might seem intelligent until you maybe figure out how it works, and then it's not intelligent.
How about like our creativity us, like how like make music better than we can make our own music, so we'd rather listen to AI music than, I don't know, Justin Bieber.
There is already AI music, right?
Right.
Like there's this generative AI. Yeah, like the Deepfakes and all of generative AI they're all working on the creativity side. So you can, let's say, build a model that takes random noise as input and then generates out of this like an image. So like this face, this person does not exist.com. There's a website called thispersondoesnotexist.com. If you go to this website, it's going to load a totally fake image of a person. So every time you refresh, it's going to give you a new person that looks 100% real, but it's not a real person.
Okay.
And so yeah, and now you can say, okay, AI is creepy.
This is one image. This person does not exist.
Oh my God. This is an AI produced image.
Yes.
That's wild. That's so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very accurate.
She doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. And if you
oh my God.
Again, if you think that okay, this is creepy, how was it able to know this? Just know that this model has seen millions of images of people, right? So it kind of knows what makes up a human face, and then somehow it generated these things. So yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense,
right?
Just not to scare you off.
Right. All right. I mean, but that when you take that to the next, I mean, everyone knows that because we see it on our Instagram filters, right? They have the aging filters that make you look like an old man, even though you're a kid, or like gender change, or it's are you how far is this going to get taken where you think, with deepfakes at least, do you think there's going to be a problem a couple years down with misinformation? We already have a lot of false news now that we have images that you don't know are real or not. You think there's going to be a problem? Yeah.
I think it's already a problem.
Okay.
I mean, we're just getting started, but yeah, I mean, misinformation is already something that's out there, and now you have a tool that can automate misinformation. So, even not looking at the images. So you have have you heard of the GPT-3 model?
What is that?
No. So GPT-3 model is a model that can generate text that looks exactly like a human wrote it. So they've used it to write articles, to create a journal, a newspaper, whatever, you name it. I think I forgot the name of the website, but there's a.
So it's like autocorrect on roids or something.
Yeah, exactly. So what you just give it like a sentence, so as to start with, and then it can complete it by itself. Just Google GPT-3 fake news, for example. Wait, give me a second.
Wait, so I have a question. So AI is basically, it automates things that it's experiencing. So when you said it can automate misinformation, so does that mean it has to be fed misinformation so that it can automate it?
No, not really.
Or can it find it by itself?
So the idea is that AI, the system, is not that smart. It's not like it's intentionally adding information that is not correct. But the idea is, let's say, as I said, you have to give it a sentence as an input, and then it can continue with it. So if you give it a sentence, so I'm just saying
like when someone, like if someone gave it misinformation, can it automate it and then it increases, like spreads it around or whatever? Like, does it have to be given the misinformation?
You have to start with a sentence, let's say, just to kick off the algorithm, and then it continues to fill in like a whole page out of the first sentence. For example, you can say recycling is bad. That's it. Like, recycling is bad. right? And then it knows that it's going to talk about recycling. So it tries to predict what's the next word that comes after, let's say, recycling is bad. And then word by word, it starts to predict them, but it's going to be random, kind of like a random words. So it doesn't specifically look for wrong information, it just looks for information to fill in what would make sense grammatically, let's say, after this sentence. But so ideally, this is not correct information.
Yeah, so someone has to give the AI the sentence, so basically false information for it to continue with it. So in reality, it's actually coming from a human source.
I mean, yeah, basically. But even if you give it real information as the first sentence, it's generating not based on knowledge, but based on kind of memory. So the model does not know what recycling is, right? Does not know the concept of recycling or the planet. But it has seen in a lot of text that planet comes, let's say, with the recycling. Whenever there's documents talking about recycling, there's also talking about global warming, let's say, or planet or whatever, ecology, savings. So it has these words correlated with the word recycle. And then it tries to put these words in sentences. But it doesn't understand what each word means.
It's just generating. Where is it getting this input from? So for GPT-3 specifically, where is it getting all the words as input?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it was trained on billions of texts. So like there are huge data sets like Google News data, Wikipedia entries. Like I don't know exactly, but there are billions of texts. So actual text from actual humans, and that's how it learned how to kind of speak English, quote unquote, right? So it learns that after this word, usually there's this word that comes in.
And how's it contributing? So you said it's contributing to misinformation. I still don't understand. So because how is it doing that?
Because you can write complete fake information, right? And people would not know this. The people assume everything online is kind of
so people reading the AI.
True.
So these AIs, they post their own articles maybe, or they post their own blogs maybe, or
yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking for this website that I saw where it, like I'm gonna give you a certain article to read, and if you didn't know that this was written by a model, you would think that this is actually written by a person.
Written by a person.
I wish I memorized the.
So let's say Donald Trump says that recycling leads to global warming in one sentence. Can the AI write an article about that? That's what it would do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is what actually was done.
Oh God!
I think this is it.
Imagine Donald Trump owning AI now.
Dude, yeah, it goes with anyone owning AI. Is I guess that's another big issue.
Dangerous tool.
Yeah, dangerous tool.
Okay, so I think
and the problems are humans.
I sent it on the chat.
Cool.
I just want to be double check that this is it. I'm probably sure. I think that's it.
I can't open it. Can you open it on your end? Can I share screen?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, on my end, you mean?
Yeah, share screen if you can.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so like this is a blog post, and then I mean that there's normal text, right? So you can read the text. I'm not sure if it sounds fake to you or not.
Not to switch to brick phones. People are more concerned about their social media these days, as they should be. This technology has drastically changed the behavior of millions, and we're still trying to adapt. Yeah, I'd say someone, a human being, wrote this. Is that? Is it not?
No, it's
competent enough. Yes.
What? 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 Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you can go back to there are other articles. So
I see.
Yeah.
So GPT-3 can also write code, right? In the same way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So okay. So
basically, whatever you train it to,
right? If it can write code, then it can write more AI, right? Or it can write new code.
I mean, AI is not just code. AI is mostly data, right? Okay. So the code is probably more or less simple, but the data you collect and how you prepare the data is what makes AI.
Right. So AI programming, right? Pretty much they can program, let's say, a website. If you wanted to program a website, right? It could do that now at this point.
Not completely, but
I
like
see.
they've done something where with GPT-3 where you can just write, let's say, give me a red button that says purchase, for example, and you run, and it gives you the HTML code for the red button that says purchase. So it's not like something that can be readily used to deploy code, but it's fun ways to use the GPT-3 model.
Okay.
For sure.
So amazing. So that's one way we can get, robots are even replacing us in fake news. But there's
Oh god.
right. I mean, we didn't even talk about deepfakes yet, and how, like, I don't know what are deepfakes. Can you tell us a little bit more about how they work and what is it?
So deepfakes.
Yeah.
So deepfakes are usually fake videos that portrays, let's say, maybe a person, so they can imitate a person's looks and voice, and you can make a person say whatever you want them to say without them being actually having said that. There's a great example of Obama, like talking about, I forgot what he was talking about, and then like you realize that there's this comedian who's actually saying the words, but it looks and sounds like Obama is talking.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So basically, I've seen these videos, the deepfake videos. Is there any way? How are we combating these deepfake videos? Like, so, like, because there's a problem, right? If we can't trust any video we see of the president, that's a big issue, right?
For sure, yeah. So basically, if you look carefully, you can discern that this is actually like not exactly the same person. So the technology is not 100% accurate yet, right?
Okay.
So sometimes you see some flickering, some low resolution, something that looks a bit odd. So this is like an easy way to kind of like detect that this is a deep fake.
Right.
But I mean,
so to the untrained eye, would they be able to notice it?
I mean, maybe not, right? If you're not actually suspicious, probably you're not gonna, realize this. You guys just gonna say, okay, maybe that's actually the president talking. But there's no specific way or like simple way to just say, okay, this is fake, so ignore it. Right?
AI
you have to be a bit suspicious.
So an AI would know that this AI is an AI, or is that not?
Actually, Facebook launched a challenge, right, to detect deep fakes using AI. And after a lot of people competed, they released the results and they kind of find out that it couldn't be possible. Like it wasn't possible to detect deep fakes with AI yet. So they're still working on this. Like we don't have a solution yet. But you can be sure that it's a technology and can be used both ways. So eventually they'll find some way to detect this.
Cool. So
I feel like we're showing, like, me and Ali are like talking about the negative sides, and like because we have this fear of it, and you're trying to show the positive side. It's like anything that's new and innovative and like people don't understand it, there's always going to be the positives and the negatives. So, and I feel like this is what's happening right now, and like we just basically have to keep it out of the wrong hands. But then you can say that about anything,
Yeah,
exactly.
Change is coming. So,
yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, it's not like I know what AI is and I know what it is not. And for someone who doesn't know what AI is, you just hear the media, what the media tells you, right? And what you see in movies. And this is not the actual AI. So sometimes it's made more, interesting than it actually is. Actually, AI is just like mathematical models. And sometimes it's a bit boring, maybe, right? Even like most of the work we do involves collecting data and cleaning data. And, it's not that exciting as you might think.
Right.
But if you love it, you love it, right? You don't have to. It doesn't have to look interesting to love it.
Okay. So you say you mostly work with like data, inputting data and stuff. I'm curious to know if you have like something like we just saw, the this face isn't real. How much input does that need for it to be able to recreate something that realistic?
I mean, you would need, like, I would say hundreds of thousands of images.
Okay, and how do you how does one Beirut AI do that? How does
you can either look for online data sets. So sometimes you have some online free available data sets that you can use that are collected, cleaned, organized, labeled. Labeled means, you know, you have a label for every image or item in your data set.
Right.
And most of the time you don't find a data set for your problem, so you have to build one yourself. And this is what takes most of the time. And I mean, you've maybe heard of these companies where all they do is just label data for Google and those big companies.
Oh, wow.
So there's a bunch of companies in say, India and, you know, other countries where there's cheap labor. And then what they do is they just draw bounding boxes or rectangles around data, around images. And they use these for object detection. For example, self-driving cars, when the car is driving, it needs to detect other cars on the road. It needs to detect people, pedestrians, road signs, etc. So to do that, you need to build an object detection model. So a model that can detect objects and images. Okay, so to do that, you give it an image, and then inside of the image, you draw a box or a rectangle around the object of interest. So if there's a person, you draw a box around the person and you say, this is a person. If there's a car, you say, this is a car. So this is a very tedious work because you have to do it over millions of images, sometimes multiple objects per image. And yeah, but once you have it and you have a good data set, then you can train a good model and have good accuracy.
I see. Amazing.
But humans have to create these data sets for the AI to be able to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that was a job.
AI can't create data. Yeah, AI can't create it themselves.
I mean, it's not going to create it as realistic as it is. And if you give the AI unrealistic data, it's not going to learn to behave well in the real world. So you need realistic data to behave good in the real world.
Is this why maybe automated cars are not super available just yet? Because you need a lot of data input in the beginning phases so you can have a reliable model, like a trusted vehicle, and then it can be out and about? Or is that?
No, I think so. To have a fully driving car, self-driving car, you need a lot of things to go into place. So what I described is one of the different components, detecting objects, but the reasoning, the logic, when should I, you know, move, speed up, slow down, emergency stopping, like there's a lot of things that can go, you know, wrong. So I wouldn't say that's the only thing stopping, you know, self-driving cars. This is maybe the easiest one to just, you know, this can be solved by putting money on the problem. Just get more data, get more people, label data. That's easy. Other issues, I think, are more difficult.
What are the more difficult issues for self-driving cars?
I mean, I'm not an expert in this field, but I think I would say again that the whole like piecing everything together, like one brain to make all the decisions based on the input. So building a model to detect pedestrians, that's maybe easy, but taking a decision based on this detection, given all other circumstances, for example, right, making decisions of should I, you know, avoid this? Should I stop now? If I stop immediately, there's a car behind me that's gonna, you know, ramp into me. Like, I don't know. There are different things that you have to take into consideration.
I see. All right. Cool.
I have a question. Since okay, so facial recognition is a thing, and it's done by AI, right?
Yes.
Okay, so can in like, okay, I know this is probably something from a movie or something, you know, like Eagle Eye or an example. Can AI later on, for example, support maybe the police force or anything like that with facial recognition through, you know, cameras and stuff, by identifying the person without, like, basically they search for the person by themselves without, you know, a human controlling them and like doing the facial recognition. So basically the AI would just like go through all of the camera feeds by itself and run facial recognition on everyone and, you know, catch the person where he is and like pinpoint his location or something like that. Like, is this possible, or is it already able? It can already be done.
I feel like it's already they do it.
I think it can already be done.
Yeah, like, in China.
Oh god.
Sorry.
Yeah. So
okay, so I'm a bit behind.
Dude, that's old AI.
So currently, you can. Yeah. It's known. You can hook up your surveillance camera to an AI model and then, you know, extract information. So this is called video analytics. And this is something that I'm personally working in as well. So we build a lot of models not facial recognition models, but a lot of models to extract information from videos, from CCTV cameras. So for example, let's say you have a store and you'd like to find out how many people are going into your store every day, and what are their genders. Now with the COVID, you'd like to find out if they're wearing a face mask or not. So all of these things, you can build models for them, and then you can hook up your surveillance cameras to the system, and then the system is gonna just detect people, count them, detect their gender, detect if they're wearing a face mask or not, and then eventually you'll be able to find out that, let's say today, 50 males and 51 females, let's say, entered your store, etc. You can track different things. So I wouldn't say what you described is impossible.
Right. Yes.
I think it's possible for sure. It's maybe already been implemented.
Yes.
But isn't it a bit, isn't it considered a bit illegal, since you're sharing sensitive information about people without their consent and stuff? So for example, like you're taking an image of their face and you're also writing down their gender, and like, I don't know what else the AI can identify, but isn't this like maybe unethical as well?
Right, invasion of privacy, maybe. What do you think?
Exactly.
So the data is not shared with anyone. It's just basically for let's say whoever owns the surveillance camera. And then just like if there's a surveillance camera that's taking a footage, right? The video is already stored somewhere. So they don't install them for no reason. And when you enter a place and they tell you that this place is monitored by surveillance cameras, you kind of agree to be in the space where there's surveillance cameras. So your data is not going to be shared on Facebook or, like, I don't know, on social media. It's just for whoever installed the surveillance camera to get information. And most probably they don't save the actual image, but rather the information. So I know that a male, maybe wearing glasses, entered the store. I don't know that Saeed entered my store, right? Unless, there's a specific reason, like it's a high security place where we need to keep an image of a person when they enter. I don't know. But
because we're seeing this happening, like it happened in the last elections in the US, for example, with Facebook releasing the data of their users to third-person parties and stuff. So, like, I don't know if you can maybe share your opinion about it. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I think it's a matter of users not understanding exactly what they're signing up for. I'm not, defending Facebook by any mean. Like I don't really use Facebook unless it's for my work or my community. Like unless there's Beirut AI or Zaka, I don't use it for my personal needs. But whenever I post anything on Facebook, I'm aware that this is something public and something I'm okay with everyone knowing or seeing, or every action I take, I'm aware of what's happening. So the issue is that maybe Facebook was sneaky a bit, or maybe people don't really understand.
You didn't know they were reading your WhatsApp. They know where you are every second.
They're not actually reading your WhatsApp. Like they don't read the messages, right? But they know who you talk to. They know at what time you talk to them. They know how many groups you're in, and who are the other members that are in your group. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm not defending. I'm just putting out the facts. Right?
No, that's good. No, that's true. It's true.
Yeah, especially with the recent update on WhatsApp. Like a lot of people have been saying that they're going to switch to Telegram or Signal and stuff like that because they don't want their information shared. So is this going to be a threat in the future? Like is this always going to be a threat for us, especially since we don't read terms and conditions of the new updates and stuff? I mean, people are just going to be like, okay, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, I completely understand. I think this is the same issue that also is seen in AI, which is sharing data. So why are these all companies collecting the data? It's so they can build better models that can benefit them and also sometimes the customer at the same time. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say if you're watching Netflix, right? And Netflix knows what shows and movies you're watching, and it uses this information to recommend other shows that you might like. So you can say, okay, I don't want to share the shows that I'm watching, but you're sacrificing kind of like good recommendations. Similarly, like Amazon at the same time collects information about your purchases so that it can recommend better things for you. So as long as you're comfortable sharing the information to get this customization, right? Or like you're gonna see ads whether you like it or not. I think
Yes.
it's better if you see ads that are relevant for you.
Oh.
This is how I like to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not okay with if I don't want something to be shared publicly about myself. I
Right.
try to hide it. I try to not share it or not put it somewhere public. But I think as much as I can, I'm okay with sharing some information
Right.
in terms of in return to getting some customization or some.
I don't want to see
Yeah.
the ads I want to get because I'll buy them. Is the thing. And it
Yeah,
works-
that's a different
it
issue.
works for them, but it's like for me, it's like, oh, I really want that. Let me
Yeah,
go spend money on it, and I don't want to just spend money randomly. I don't know, but I guess this is, I mean, the future. It's coming, right? What about robots? Do you work with robots and any capacity with Beirut AI?
No, actually, I don't. I'm mostly on the software side. Anything
I see.
that's hardware related, that's not really my thing.
I see. And what is Zaka?
So Zaka is a company. So Beirut AI is an NGO, right?
Mhm.
I founded as a community. It started as a part-time, like not part-time, a volunteering thing I used to do. I worked as a freelancer with companies, and at the same time, I wanted to push this ecosystem in Lebanon. So I founded Beirut AI. We started doing events, and we started growing. And I realized there's a big need for AI education, and not just in Lebanon, but also in the MENA region as well. So the same issues that we face in Lebanon are also faced, in Jordan, in Egypt, in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, etc. So I decided to focus my full-time effort on this mission, and that's why I founded Zaka, along with a couple of colleagues from Beirut AI as well. And so Zaka is a company it's an AI company that's focused on pushing the AI ecosystem in the MENA region.
I see.
And we offer education through workshops, boot camps, trainings. Currently, soon we're going to launch our online courses as well.
Amazing.
We also offer consultancy and help companies implement the projects in the field.
Hey, that's so cool. You guys go check it out.
Yeah, that's great.
AI and learn more about AI. Really appreciate your time. We almost at the hour mark here, but this is really cool. I learned a lot. This is a boot camp.
Yeah, well, that passed fast, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
I enjoyed that talk. I enjoyed that talk.
Me too. Yeah, that was
likewise.
Yeah. So aside, is there anything else we should address about the future of AI?
I mean, I'm not very well educated on the tech and technology. Like, I do appreciate it. I'm more of the type of person who's like more into politics, and that's why they bring me on this show, talk about politics.
Yes.
But I do have a very fond appreciation of what technology can bring to human life in the future. I mean, it's basically innovation. For me, innovation is when someone comes up with a new idea that can make life easier for humans, and AI is doing that. And I can really see it benefiting us in our life. Although, okay, we do mention some of the issues that we have, or the fears that we have of it, but I'm pretty sure that it can be handled in a good way, and it can be very beneficial for us in the future. So I'm looking forward.
I'm looking forward.
I totally agree.
This is how I see it. We always worry about how's AI gonna hit. I feel like AI is gonna hit like America first, maybe China first, like Western countries, and the last place it'll trickle down to is Beirut. I was in Beirut a couple days ago. I was trying to go to GPS from a place to Said's place, let's say. I couldn't use the GPS. I'm like, how do I use the GPS on these streets? What even is the address here? So it's what about you, Chris? Do you like the more tech advanced life? I know you work in tech, or do you like the more separated from tech now that you work in tech? I don't know.
No, I think at this stage I'm really into tech, and I enjoy the tech life. I'm aware of the dangers of tech, but I mean, I live in Lebanon, so it's easy for me to get away, go to natures whenever I need to escape a bit of tech. But at the time, I'm really like focused and deep into this technology life, and so I'm okay with it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, and I just want to say, Chris, I love what you do. I think it's really huge, and the time is coming that AI is really going to explode. And the thing is, as you say, you can do it from anywhere. If someone is talented and curious and likes to code and wants to learn more about AI, please reach out to this guy. and work with them.
Thanks.
So we can, because we can, right? Take the place of innovation and anything, because it's literally the tools are there. We just need to make the most of the tools we have. Everyone's on the same. That's what I love about AI. It's kind of, a lot of people are on the same playing field. You don't need that many resources or labs and whatnot. You just need, right, a computer and some hardware,
motivation, and
motivation,
computer and internet. That's it.
Exactly. Like you mentioned, and like you mentioned, Chris, what's it called? You providing jobs for people and here in Lebanon, so that they don't have to leave the country. So that's a great thing. I mean, so whoever's watching this and wants to stay in Lebanon and continue working, talk to Chris.
Talk to Chris.
With pleasure.
And subscribe. You should figure out an AI that can make everyone subscribe to this channel. If you like AI, subscribe. Leave a comment below if you have any questions.
Podcast.
Yes, if you like anything, if you want to comment on anything we talked about, please leave a question, and we can send it to Christoph. If you have a hard question we can't answer. There you go.
Of course.
This has been another episode of A to the Show. We'll see you later.
Thank you guys for having me.
See ya.
Bye bye.
There was a defining moment in my career where it was like a year in, like a year, 2 years in, where like it was starting to look like my parents were starting to catch on. Like there was conversations with their friend groups and they saw my video and stuff like that. And I had to just make the decision that like, look, I'm gonna speak my truth. And also not everything I say is real. So I'm just gonna come to terms with like, I am an artist, I'm a comedian. Some of what I say is for shock value, some of it's true. And that's for you to interpret, but I'm gonna not censor myself because I think it's my responsibility to be a part of the larger conversation, especially for like Arab Muslims, where it's like, women aren't often outspoken.
Right.
And